Okay, so this video is to show how to assemble or disassemble if you need to replace a trigger or a rubber band. Typically, I provide a couple extra rubber bands, several triggers, and paper clips to help with replacing them. So we have our Crossbow stock. And what we need to do is add the front end on it, but first we have to add the barrel or the shooter on there. So that just slides right in. And when these are first made, they don't slide perfectly well. So what I like to do is I like to use some silicone grease. You don't want to use anything like cooking oil or anything like that on this PLA plastic, but any kind of silicone, clear silicone grease will work very well. And that way the plastic won't be affected, it won't break down. But for the most part, it should be good to go for a long time because the silicone will dry on there a little bit, but still be very slippery, so this will slide pretty good. So this has to go on first. The barrel, the bucket part of it is going to face outward so that you can put your ammo in there and shoot it. And this is a little groove back here is where the rubber band snaps into. So I add that first, and then I add the front end of the crossbow on, and it just slides in there. And you can see there are holes that run all the way through. They run through the front of this, all the way through. And I typically, you could use wire or something else, but I typically just use paper clips. They're easy to use, and I've provided some. However, with paper clips, as opposed to some simple wire or something like that that's more flexible, you do need a pair of pliers that also has a cutter on it so that you can bend those. So what I usually do is I kind of straighten out my paper clip and just give it a bend like that. I know I don't need all this extra here sticking up, but that's okay. And then I'm going to straighten this part out. And I know pretty much I just need it to go from one side to the other and then bent up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here so I can use the other piece of metal for my trigger. So we cut that. And this would be the same thing as if you took this apart for whatever reason. You really don't need to take the front of this off, but if you wanted to take it off, you would cut the wire, pull the wire out, and you would need to put a new wire in. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that through the hole from one side all the way through to the other side. And then I tend to just hold the paper clip up, take my needle nose. You don't want to pull on these legs or anything. You don't want to break them. So just be careful. You'd be safer holding off onto the front of this. And then I'm just going to bend it up like that. And then that's actually more than enough to hold that on, and you could trim it off and it can be kind of loose like that. Sometimes I will, if it's not all the way bent, I might take a pair of pliers and just position it on either side and slightly bend it. But you don't have to get too aggressive. You're just trying to keep that so that this front won't fall off. And then I snip it. I like to get closer. These aren't the best for getting close, but you could certainly use those. I just grab my wire cutters and snip. And of course, watch where that thing goes flying and don't shoot yourself in the eye, and snip. And then a lot of times I will also, because this could be a little sharp, I just kind of pop it down so that it's wrapped around the legs. So now the front is on, and the barrel's not going to go flying off. So that's ready. I need to put the trigger on. lube it, and then I'll put the rubber band on. So the trigger, same thing. I've got a hole going all the way through. So grab your trigger. I oftentimes, just for fun, like to use a different colored trigger, but usually I provide extra triggers, and a lot of times I'll put them in several colors so you can pick if you want the same color or if you want a different color. So on this one, I'll put a red trigger in. So for the trigger, there's only one way it goes, but mostly you can see the way the hole is going to be where this hole is, and I want the trigger going down. So you drop it in from the top like that, and I just sort of use my finger. It won't fall through, but you need to line the hole up. So what I'm going to do is get another piece of wire ready. This is kind of a U shape right now, which is not what I want. I want it to be kind of flat. It wouldn't hurt it if it was like that, but let's make sure it'll go all the way through where I want it to. It will. So I'm just going to flatten it out a little bit, bend it straight at a 90, there we go, like that. So go back to my trigger, drop the trigger down from the top, use my fingers to kind of line everything up. Sometimes it helps to wiggle and then just put it all the way through. And like the other side, I'm just going to hold it up in the air, and I like to bend them up. So I'm just going to grab it, just gently bend it up, and then I can use, again, not critical, but I can use some pliers to get on either side of it if I want, and just slightly bend it more. I don't want to wrap it around the top or this thing will hit it, but like that. And then I will use my wire cutters to cut it off. Yeah, point it down, it's less likely to shoot across the room or in your eye. Like that. Okay, so we have the trigger on, and we have the bucket here. Now, the reason I give extra triggers is because if you're going really fast and doing this, sometimes you can pop that trigger up, not even realize it, and then go and push this back. And if you push it really hard, it can bend or break your trigger. Typically it'll bend first, but if you bend it back and you do that a couple times, it will eventually snap. So that's why you have extra triggers. Main thing is, don't do that. Pull your thing back. This should be down and under it. And once you do this a few times, it will just naturally lock onto the bottom of this bucket and keep it locked, and then with the tension of the rubber band, and then when you pull it, it will release and shoot. So that's how that works. If for some reason you go all the way back and it's not, and it just keeps going back and forth, you can put a little, just take your finger when this is over the top and put a little pressure on it, and it will lock it back in there. But now I'm going to lube it up, and then I will put the rubber band on. So again, I'm using just a little of this silicone, clear silicone lubing grease. It's what I use on my printers and other machines that you need a really nice grease for. So it's just this clear, a little bit of silicone. It's not glue, so it's not E6000 or some other silicone-based glue. You don't want to glue your thing down. It is a grease. So this is way, way, way more than I need. I'm just going to slightly do it on either side. And then I will also, I like to do just a little bit on my trigger so that when it grabs underneath there, it's still kind of free to flow. So I just go back and forth a few times. See, it's already starting to lock. If it locks, then you can pull the trigger. So, all right, like that. I'll put a little bit more towards the front. And there's way too much grease on here. I don't need all that on there. I just need enough to make it slippery. So I'll take my finger, I'll kind of lightly scrape off a bunch of that, move my barrel forward, scrape off the rest, and then back here I don't even need it. So I'm just using my other clean finger, And now I got more than enough on there. It's locking nicely. And I'm ready to do my rubber band. All right, I don't have a rubber band out right now, so I'm just going to grab one out of my little accessory pack. And I put usually 3 rubber bands in there anyway. These don't get stretched too tight, but you know, things dry out over time and eventually these could break. These are a number 3 rubber band. So if you want to know, that's what they are. You could put a slightly tighter rubber band on there. It might make things go even farther, but with this, it's loose when it's at rest for the most part, and things fly pretty good anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over, and you just want it to lock into place like that. And then I'm going to go around to the other side, and I usually actually try and keep them lined up. So if you do that, and then you come over to the other side and lock it in place, up and down wise, I don't have a twist in my rubber band, and that's sort of how I like it. And then the next thing you need to do is just slide one at a time into the slot there. So I'm just going to take it, go straight in like that, and then I will take the other, go straight in like that, and that is good enough. You want them kind of equal on either side, so you don't, they're going to pull equally. If you have it tighter on this side than this side, then it may kind of pull funky, you know, have less force on this side, and that may affect the trajectory. Even though this is pretty captive, it can rock a little bit. So anyway, I want them pretty straightforward. It'll probably straighten itself out too after a couple of fires. So it's in there, it locked back. I didn't bend my trigger. Again, I'll wipe a little extra of that grease off and fire. And I'm just going to do that a few times because I got a new rubber band, I got a new everything on here, new trigger, and it doesn't take much force to push the trigger. And there you go. That is how to set one up, or obviously if I need to change my rubber band, I don't have to take anything off. I can just pull that out, pull the rubber band off, or cut the rubber band, and then get a new rubber band and put on there. Trigger, you have to cut this wire just on one end, cut it, pull that out, pull your trigger out, take a new trigger, drop a new trigger in, and obviously bend your remaining piece of paper clip. This I would need to cut smaller. I could get easily 2 things for a trigger or the front. And then rebend it, trim it down so you don't poke your fingers on it, and you're good to go for lots more action.